Welcome to Grassroots Inc. Live, broadcasting to you from the Grassroots Inc. War Room located in West Central Illinois. We cover politics and issues affecting Illinois and our nation. Stick around, Patriots. We go live in just a few moments. Have you considered getting involved in your local politics? Well, we can help. Visit www.grassroots.inc and we can give you all the information and guidance and support that you need. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Grassroots Inc. Live. I am your host, Matthew Rauscher. Let's get to it. Hello and welcome, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and bring on our first guest this evening. His name is Aaron Delmar. I met Aaron on the campaign trail. He was Gary Rabine's running mate for governor, but he has done a lot in Illinois politics. Gary, tell us how you got involved in politics, what you were doing before, and why you got involved.
Yeah, I got involved in politics in early 2000. Was a candidate for city councilman. I was running against an 18-year incumbent that I pretty much challenging and was able to pull off with being involved in local Republican politics and started doing a lot more with him to be the Cook County Republican chairman 2016 and 20 to the RNC convention. I was just elected a week ago to the state senate, the 5th congressional district.
That's awesome. So you are running Cook County Republican politics at the moment, and that is a complicated beast. There are lots of sub precincts, and for us down here, you know, our county chairman isn't a big deal, but in your situation, it is really a big deal. I mean, that is the key county in this upcoming year. So Darren Bailey, Tom DeVore, we've got this slate of guys going into this fall. What do you give them as advice? How do we win in Cook County enough votes to be competitive statewide?
You know, as I've been out here previously and a couple statewide, not as much. And the advice that I would get out and talk to their local infrastructure, reach out to committeemen, the ward committeemen, all of the and really try to engage not only in the repents and meet and greets, but also a non-partisan conservative value type events as well. They're and really showing a strong comparison of opponents. I think Darren Bailey has a great to be the next governor of Illinois. If he deserves to be governor, and why didn't he hired? Same thing with Tom DeVore. Tom needed to show people in Illinois that there could be an attorney force the law that will keep people safe. Elected to do over Kwame Raoul, who has really done Illinois for the families that reside here.
So we have this governor now who obviously has just absolutely abused his office. Do you think there's a feeling across the aisle in Cook County? Do you think people on the left are coming around to the idea that, you know, maybe declaring monkeypox an emergency and making emergency declarations over that is a little premature, a little tyrannical, a little bit of an abuse of power, you know, extending his emergency mandate powers far past the crisis of COVID? Do people see the overreach that Pritzker has like we do downstate in Cook County?
The interesting phenomenon to see all the different getting involved in school board meetings and school board races in 2023, because Jimmy Pritzker has gone over the top with his ideas, and it is starting to backfire. Certainly there's going to be a lot of that's going on here, and I don't know where Darren Bailey, but $61 million is going to be very, very tough to beat, as he's seen by that we felt. Again, Gary and I, you know, we lost to strong competitors there. The ground game is really going to be where it's at. And there are former Democrats that are like, hey, we're Democrats, we are now going to be voting for Darren Bailey, and we're sick of it. And we see what really happens running for president instead of taking care of things at home.
So there has been a lot of shifting sands of the Democratic Party the last few years. Obviously Michael Madigan leaving the scene, JB Pritzker just put in his pick for party chairman. Do you think the Democratic Party is unified around JB Pritzker, or do you think even within their rank and file, core Democrats, whether that's mayors, state legislators, do you think there's some discontent with JB even on his side of the aisle?
100%. I mean, if you look at the state party chair, that fight took a tremendous amount of turmoil. I think and I'm hearing that a lot of even some of the state senators are going to be supporting some of the rumor mill is that a lot of Democrats for Dan Brady, they don't want anything to do with Secretary of State race. They're going to be supporting about it, but telling their supporters behind the scenes the best choice for Secretary of State, and we Alexi Janulius. A lot of JB Pritzker use it as money to bully people and forcing them to make a bunch of bad left liberal for them, and they governor take over. So regarding the Democrats and where they're at, they're really good Republican year. Everyone keeps thinking it's because of Roe versus Wade, but I think there's a lot of people, pastors on the south and west side of Chicago, that babies' lives are being saved. That the Supreme Court made that such a cruel. It's not going to be this big that everybody thinks is going to be happening in November. Republican wins. I think by my math, minority in the House. I think we're going to be a little challenged. He's there. I think we're going to pick up 2 congressional seats, at least 1 or 2 statewide. So that happens, but I think that's kind of the course that we're on.
So you mentioned Roe v. Wade and the messaging around abortion. I'm going to go ahead and play a clip here, and I want to see your take on it. While I'm doing that, Aaron, you may want to switch over to your hotspot and jump back in. We're just catching a little bit of lag on your voice, and it's compounded by your fast-speaking Chicago accent. So we miss more than a slow-talking downstate Illinois guy would. But I'm going to go ahead and play this video. If you can try to edit your connection a little bit there. If not, no worries. We'll hop back right in after this video.
You may have thought you heard everything that Darren Bailey had to say about abortion.
If somebody were raped or there was a matter of incest in the family, would you allow that woman to have an abortion?
Right now, my answer is no.
But that's not all Darren Bailey has said.
The attempted extermination of the Jews of World War II, it doesn't even compare on a shadow of the life that has been lost and with abortion.
So Aaron's hopping back in now with what looks like good reception. Aaron, can you hear me all right?
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, a lot better. So Aaron, there's this campaign by JB Pritzker. That video I just showed is what he's promoting. A lot of that commercial is running in Cook County and the Collier counties. Is his messaging going to be effective? Is that going to cut through to voters that are on the edge of being pro-choice or pro-life? What do you think Bailey's message is this fall around abortion, and is Roe v. Wade going to affect this cycle in Illinois?
Yes. So I think that commercial really is going to be Bailey coming up in this November. I think that his position on it would applaud it. Suburban house moms. It's interesting to me. Has been happening when Roe versus Wade by our United States Supreme Court, and that really didn't have a position on life really getting involved, and that we have a lot more Republicans that are energized and excited, faith-based, and they know that so many lives, but there's so many moderate Democrats that are never really thought much about abortion active as well. Do I think that it's going to Bailey? Probably not. I think if Darren's, newer message where he still issues with the state and corruption and we take problems out, while on how he believes on his life issue. But yeah, I think that he's going to lose some votes in the collar counties because of that, and unfortunately, because I don't think a lot of those looking at the issue from its whole, really understanding the impact that it's going to have in any impact. Illinois is the legislation that has already been passed and has already kicked in, and the day and the day after, absolutely nothing except everyone else around us. Abortions here, and we're going to get the benefit of rest of Indiana and Ohio and Michigan, changing their abortion laws. Illinois expressway right up to Chicago. It's really unfortunate.
Well, hey, thank you so much for coming on, Aaron. I may try to get you back on with a little bit better connection here in a few minutes. I'm going to go ahead and run a great Ronald Reagan speech that I've got queued up, and we're going to go ahead and take a little bit break here. Thank you so much, Aaron Delmar.
For so many years, we achieved so much, prospered as no other people on earth. It was because here in this land, we unleashed the energy and individual genius of man to a greater extent than has ever been done before. Freedom and the dignity of the individual have been more available and assured here than in any other place on earth. The price for this freedom at times has been high, but we have never been unwilling to pay that price. Those who would trade our freedom for the soup kitchen of the welfare state have told us they have a utopian solution of peace without victory. They call their policy accommodation. And they say if we'll only avoid any direct confrontation with the enemy, he'll forget his evil ways and learn to love us. All who oppose them are indicted as warmongers. They say we offer simple answers to complex problems. Well, perhaps there is a simple answer. Not an easy answer, but simple. If you and I have the courage to tell our elected officials that we want our national policy based on what we know in our hearts is morally right, we cannot buy our security, our freedom from the threat of the bomb, by committing an immorality so great as saying to 1 billion human beings now enslaved behind the Iron Curtain, give up your dreams of freedom, because to save our own skins, we're willing to make a deal with your slave masters. Alexander Hamilton said, a nation which can prefer disgrace to danger is prepared for a master and deserves one. Now let's set the record straight. There's no argument over the choice between peace and war, but there's only one guaranteed way you can have peace, and you can have it in the next second: surrender. Admittedly, there's a risk in any course we follow other than this, but every lesson of history tells us that the greater risk lies in appeasement. And this is the specter our well-meaning liberal friends refuse to face, that their policy of accommodation is appeasement. And it gives no choice between peace and war, only between fight or surrender. If we continue to accommodate, continue to back and retreat, eventually we have to face the final demand, the ultimatum. And what then? When Nikita Khrushchev has told his people he knows what our answer will be. He has told them that we're retreating under the pressure of the Cold War, and someday, when the time comes to deliver the final ultimatum, our surrender will be voluntary, because by that time, we will have been weakened from within spiritually, morally, and economically. He believes this because from our side he's heard voices pleading for peace at any price, or better read than dead, or as one commentator put it, he'd rather live on his knees than die on his feet. And therein lies the road to war, because those voices don't speak for the rest of us. You and I know and do not believe that life is so dear and peace so sweet as to be purchased at the price of chains and slavery. If nothing in life is worth dying for, when did this begin? Just in the face of this enemy? Or should Moses have told the children of Israel to live in slavery under the Pharaohs? Should Christ have refused the cross? Should the patriots at Concord Bridge have thrown down their guns and refused to fire the shot heard round the world? The martyrs of history were not fools. And our honored dead, who gave their lives to stop the advance of the Nazis, didn't die in vain. Where then is the road to peace? Well, it's a simple answer after all. You and I have the courage to say to our enemies, there is a price we will not pay. There is a point beyond which they must not advance. This is the meaning, in the phrase of Barry Goldwater, peace through strength. Winston Churchill said the destiny of man is not measured by material computations. When great forces are on the move in the world, we learn we're spirits, not animals. And he said there's something going on in time and space and beyond time and space, which, whether we like it or not, spells duty. You and I have a rendezvous with destiny. We'll preserve for our children this, the last best hope of man on earth, or we'll sentence them to take the last step into 1,000 years of darkness. He has faith that you and I have the ability and the dignity and the right to make our own decisions and determine our own destiny.
Those who say that we're in a time when there are no heroes, they just don't know where to look. On the far shore, the sloping hills of Arlington National Cemetery, with its row upon row of simple white markers bearing crosses or stars of David, they add up to only a tiny fraction of the price that has been paid for our freedom. Each one of those markers is a monument to the kind of hero I spoke of earlier. Their lives ended in places called Belleau Wood, the Argonne, Omaha Beach, Salerno, and halfway around the world on Guadalcanal, Tarawa, Pork Chop Hill, the Chosin Reservoir, and in 100 rice paddies and jungles of a place called Vietnam. Under one such marker lies a young man, Martin Treptow, who left his job in a small-town barber shop in 1917 to go to France with the famed Rainbow Division. There on the Western Front, he was killed trying to carry a message between battalions under heavy artillery fire. We're told that on his body was found a diary. On the flyleaf, under the heading, My Pledge, he had written these words: America must win this war. Therefore I will work, I will save, I will sacrifice, I will endure. I will fight cheerfully and do my utmost as if the issue of the whole struggle depended on me alone. The crisis we're facing today does not require of us the kind of sacrifice that Martin Treptow and so many thousands of others were called upon to make. It does require, however, our best effort and our willingness to believe in ourselves and to believe in our capacity to perform great deeds, to believe that together, with God's help, we can and will resolve the problems which now confront us. And after all, why shouldn't we believe that? We are Americans. God bless you and thank you. Thank you very much.
Welcome to Grassroots Inc. Live, broadcasting to you from the Grassroots Inc. War Room located in West Central Illinois. We cover politics and issues affecting Illinois and our nation. Stick around, Patriots. We go live in just a few moments. Have you considered getting involved in your local politics? Well, we can help. Visit www.grassroots.inc and we can give you all the information and guidance and support that you need. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Grassroots Inc. Live. I am your host, Matthew Rauschert. Let's get to it. Welcome back to the second ever live stream on Grassroots Live. We just had Aaron Del Mar on, and it was a bit tricky to hear Aaron, and I'm seeing in the comments that some of you guys are having a hard time hearing him as well. So if I have invited him back on when he is not using hotel Wi-Fi, hopefully we will have better luck. And I apologize. Obviously trying something new here, and the technical learning curve is quite hefty, I have to say. But while we're waiting on our next guest, I want to go ahead and show you guys what the vision and mission is with Grassroots Inc. So we launched this website, www.grassroots.inc, not too long ago, and we're trying to provide a resource that I wish I had while running a campaign, and that a lot of people on the campaign trail mentioned they needed these resources. So on this website, we've got election info. So if you are curious about what your legislative districts look like, what your state Senate districts look like, whatever the congressional map may be, there is a election information page on here that is just awesome. You can pop up any of these maps on Google, and it's an interactive map. So if you want to take a look at the gerrymandering and the absolute craziness that is remapping in Illinois, you can use this election information page to get help. On here also is a register to vote link. If you're not registered to vote yet, you can register to vote. This will lead you to the state website. There is a Ballotpedia link. Ballotpedia is an awesome resource. This website has an encyclopedia of information on every candidate, election, race, office. And that's just an awesome resource to have access to. I use it for reference all the time. There's Illinois Sunshine, which is a fun little tool that allows you to look up any elected official in Illinois. So we can look up J.B. Pritzker. And you can look at his campaign and his campaign account, where his money comes from, where he spends it. So obviously you can see here that the tyrant J.B. Pritzker has $60 million on hand. They update these at the end of every quarter. You can see where JB spends his money. So he's got a strategy company, Grassroots Media LLC, though. I'd assume that if he's spending $25 million on something called Grassroots Media LLC, you can probably assume, folks, it's not that grassroots. But this is another awesome tool that is on our website that you can link off to. You can look up any politician in Illinois and see where their money comes from and where it goes. Other tools on this election information page, once I get back to it, we've got Illinois Sunshine, and then we've got voting records. This is a great tool. You can look up any lawmaker, state or federal, and see how they vote on different bills. And the American Conservative Union, which puts together this site, they have a score sheet for each of these candidates, and they rate each bill as either against or for the ACU. And so you can see by state here just how liberal your state is over time. Obviously, Illinois, we've had some problems, and we just keep getting more and more liberal every year, it seems. But you can see here, Thomas Morrison's rated as most conservative. Avery Bourne has a high conservative rating. But we can look at Avery Bourne. She was the running mate of Richard Irvin, who was not a conservative, I might add, just dressed in conservative clothes. Conservative garments don't make you conservative. But you can see all the times she voted with the ACU, and you can see all the times that she voted against the ACU. Now, the ACU isn't perfect, but it's a great metric to look at these guys and start to see some of their votes, and over time, how they became less or more conservative. She was drawing more liberal, and then she turned a little bit more conservative in 2021. You know, maybe that's because she was looking at running as lieutenant governor. Who knows? But you can see here that enriching government favored developers by doubling the affordable housing tax credit program. House Bill 3107. You can see how she voted on that. You can get a little description of the bill. That is just another tool that we are linking off to from our website. All of this is on www.grassroots.inc. If you are curious as to what is going on in your local area with your grassroots, you can find all of these groups from our website. So if you're in Warren County, you can click on this Warren County Conservatives link. Here you see when their meetings are, which I actually need to update that. If there's a Warren County Conservative, they're going to remind me afterwards. And there's a link here that you can fill this out. If you want to send them a message, this will go right to their leader's email. And all the grassroots groups are set the same. If you're looking for your local GOP, we have the same resource. If you haven't got in touch with your local Republican committee, I encourage you to. Each county that we're involved in so far, we've got the website and Facebook linked off. So if you're looking for the Rock Island County GOP website, you can just go ahead and pull that up right from grassroots.inc. We are just trying to create a hub for all the information you need to get involved in political action. Let's see if there's any other cool features on here. Grassroots Inc. Live. This is still getting worked out some kinks, but this broadcast right now is going to be on this page every time we're live. We are doing some news stories. People are submitting them to us. We are curating them and putting them up. So we recently just put up a story, and this one's an interesting one to talk about. So Dick Uihlein, who owns Uihlein Paper Company, I think he changed Uihlein, Uihlein to Uline for the sake of marketing, but same owner, same company. This guy is the biggest Republican donor in Illinois, and he gave Darren Bailey a lot of money for the primary. But it seems that he will not be giving Darren money for the general election, which has prompted Darren seemingly to raise his speaking rates to go to an event. So now for Darren Bailey to do a speaking event in a weeknight is what I'm hearing. It's $25,000 for Darren Bailey to show up and speak and $35,000 for a weekend night. That is Darren Bailey's way of raising money. And Dick Uihlein is no longer going to put money directly into Darren Bailey's account to run this race. He's going to use Dan Proft, who was a candidate for governor and runs a radio talk show host up in Chicago. He's going to use his People Who Play by the Rules PAC, Political Action Committee. That is what PAC means. And that PAC is going to be running ads against Pritzker for Bailey, hopefully. But it's just an interesting thing like that that's going on in Illinois politics. We cover it right there on the site to the best of our ability. And obviously, you're using Illinois Sunshine. Once again, amazing resource I encourage all of you guys to get used to using. But yeah, I've been building this website for anyone who wants to get involved and have the resources there to do it. So I am going to be bringing on our next guest here pretty soon. He has not been able to join yet via link, but we've got a wide variety of guests coming on tonight. But before we do that, I'm going to send us to a quick commercial break, maybe a double commercial break, and organize some more content for you guys. I'm really enjoying doing this. I'm new at it, but I think we need something like this locally. There's just not anything right now that is engaged in conservative politics downstate. You know, the only regular newsletter that I see that's conservative geared for Illinois politics is the Illinois. If you guys haven't heard of it, I'll go ahead and look it up for you. They post really regular content, and it's spelled funny. It's Illinois with a Z. This guy, Patrick Piffington, he's been a political operative in Illinois for a long time. He covers this page. I will say I have some political beef to pick with him. You know, he's a little too friendly to Adam Kinzinger for my taste. I'm not a huge fan of Adam. I think he is a rhino in all the sense of the word, but this guy does have a good finger to the pulse on what's going on in Illinois politics, but he seems to be the only one doing a statewide newsletter like this. And not that I'm trying to be statewide with this platform here, but we could have something localized through this. And as we go along, I'll be adding in more people who have their own platform within our live stream. And Grassroots Inc. will just be the host of it because I'd like to get behind the camera rather than in front of it as soon as possible. But with that, folks, I'm going to send you guys to a quick commercial break. We might listen to a little bit more Ronald Reagan, and I will be back shortly with a guest that you all will enjoy hearing. Thanks for tuning in. God bless you all. We'll be right back. Welcome to Grassroots Inc. Live, broadcasting to you from the Grassroots Inc. War Room located in West Central Illinois. We cover politics and issues affecting Illinois and our nation. Stick around, Patriots. We go live in just a few moments. Have you considered getting involved in your local politics? Well, we can help. Visit www.grassroots.inc and we can give you all the information and guidance and support that you need. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Grassroots Inc. Live. I am your host, Matthew Rauscher. Let's get to it.
For so many years, we achieved so much, prospered as no other people on earth. It was because here in this land, we unleashed the energy and individual genius of man to a greater extent than has ever been done before. Freedom and the dignity of the individual have been more available and assured here than in any other place on earth. The price for this freedom at times has been high, but we have never been unwilling to pay that price.
Those who would trade our freedom for the soup kitchen of the welfare state have told us they have a utopian solution of peace without victory. They call their policy accommodation. And they say if we'll only avoid any direct confrontation with the enemy, he'll forget his evil ways and learn to love us. All who oppose them are indicted as warmongers. They say we offer simple answers to complex problems. Well, perhaps there is a simple answer. Not an easy answer, but simple. If you and I have the courage to tell our elected officials that we want our national policy based on what we know in our hearts is morally right, we cannot buy our security, our freedom from the threat of the bomb, by committing an immorality so great as saying to 1 billion human beings now enslaved behind the Iron Curtain, give up your dreams of freedom, because to save our own skins, we're willing to make a deal with your slave masters. Alexander Hamilton said, a nation which can prefer disgrace to danger is prepared for a master and deserves one. Now let's set the record straight. There's no argument over the choice between peace and war, but there's only one guaranteed way you can have peace, and you can have it in the next second: surrender. Admittedly, there's a risk in any course we follow other than this, but every lesson of history tells us that the greater risk lies in appeasement. And this is the specter our well-meaning liberal friends refuse to face, that their policy of accommodation is appeasement. And it gives no choice between peace and war, only between fight or surrender. If we continue to accommodate, continue to back and retreat, eventually we have to face the final demand, the ultimatum. And what then? Well, Nikita Khrushchev has told his people he knows what our answer will be. He has told them that we're retreating under the pressure of the Cold War, and someday, when the time comes to deliver the final ultimatum, our surrender will be voluntary, because by that time, we will have been weakened from within spiritually, morally, and economically. He believes this because from our side he's heard voices pleading for peace at any price, or better red than dead, or as one commentator put it, he'd rather live on his knees than die on his feet. And therein lies the road to war, because those voices don't speak for the rest of us. You and I know and do not believe that life is so dear and peace so sweet as to be purchased at the price of chains and slavery. If nothing in life is worth dying for, when did this begin? Just in the face of this enemy? Or should Moses have told the children of Israel to live in slavery under the Pharaohs? Should Christ have refused the cross? Should the patriots at Concord Bridge have thrown down their guns and refused to fire the shot heard round the world? The martyrs of history were not fools. And our honored dead, who gave their lives to stop the advance of the Nazis, didn't die in vain. Where then is the road to peace? Well, it's a simple answer after all. You and I have the courage to say to our enemies, there is a price we will not pay. There is a point beyond which they must not advance. This is the meaning, in the phrase of Barry Goldwater, peace through strength. Winston Churchill said the destiny of man is not measured by material computations. When great forces are on the move in the world, we learn we're spirits, not animals. And he said there's something going on in time and space and beyond time and space, which, whether we like it or not, spells duty. You and I have a rendezvous with destiny. We'll preserve for our children this, the last best hope of man on earth, or we'll...
So thank you for bearing with us, folks. Patrick Moody is on. Patrick, how are you doing this evening?
I was just typing you or texting you.
Yeah, man, it's been a trick getting this all figured out tonight. But you were on live with a few viewers. So Pat, you are running for sheriff in Rock Island County. Why?
Well, I think there's a time for change. There's enough going on out there that I think now is a change more than or time for change more than ever before. What inspired me was what law enforcement's recently went through in the last couple of years, as far as how terribly bad we were, put under this false narrative and the problems that came with it, which has forced a lot of guys out. And I just think we need more of a conservative voice, someone that's willing to get out there in front of everybody and explain what's going on and tell everybody how wrong things are, So that played a big part of it. And knowing that I'm willing to do it. So yeah, that's the part that excites me, is that knowing that I can actually maybe possibly get in there and make a difference. And there's a lot of things going on with the sheriff's department too, that definitely room for improvement there as well.
So Pat, detailed everyone, what were you doing before you decided to run? Did you have any political experience, and what has it been like running so far? What's the process like for somebody potentially who's considering running for office?
Well, I came into this a little naive, I'll be honest with you. I've never ran for a political position, and it's definitely a lot of work. And me being a cop, it's kind of hard to add into the whole, or been a cop my whole life. It's kind of hard to add into the political part of it. And unfortunately, that plays a little bit as far as what's going on with what I'm running for. So I don't really like that part. I like the part where I can connect with the public. That part I absolutely love, where I can build better connections with law enforcement and the public, and knowing that, being given a platform to be able to do that's great. But it's a lot of work, man. But as far as my history goes, I was a police officer for a total of 28 years. I retired on my 50th birthday. And I worked for 3 different departments. I started off with the Henry County Sheriff's Department. My primary assignment in there was the jail. So I worked corrections, even though we were all hired as deputy sheriffs. But you work the radio room, you work telecommunications. Your primary assignment was the jail, but you also worked the road as well. So I went through a correction academy at that point. And then from there, I took a job part-time with Kelowna Patrol. So I was working full-time at the Sheriff's Department and then part-time with the City Department in Henry County. And then I ended up going to Kelowna Police Department full-time. And I was there for probably about 5 years. And then from there, I did my last 20 years with Moline PD, and that's where I retired from.
So what'd you do after you retired, Pat?
Well, I've been flipping houses on and off for the last 20 years. So I got right into that once I retired. I got back into it, connected with the bank, and I do that. Also, I have my insurance license. So I've had that for 17 years maybe. So I sell annuities, fixed index annuities, equity index annuities. Been doing that for a long time. And I'm busy, man. I'm all over the place, but I'm a project manager for a roofing company that primarily deals with storm damage. And I'm also a project manager for a cell phone tower business. It's like a construction business. So a lot of construction stuff is what I do now.
That's great. I think that's a unique asset to bring into the sheriff's department, is that you've been on the outside, you understand both sides of, the private sector and working within the sheriff's department. Pat, there is a Safety Act that passed here in Illinois, and a lot of people hear about it. A lot of people hear, oh, this is damaging, it's anti-police. Just how bad is it, and what makes it just so terrible for Illinois law enforcement and really the rule of law at large in Illinois?
Well, you're right. It is horrible, and I mean horrible. And it's so bad that you got 102 counties in the state of Illinois. And when you got 100 out of the 102 counties where a state's attorney is telling you how bad this crime bill is, that should tell you something in itself. But they come up with this crime bill, and this is when law enforcement was demonized, and we went through everything we were going through, and there was riots going across the country for God knows how long. They come up with this crime bill, and they create it without any law enforcement input whatsoever. And they pushed it through at 4 o'clock in the morning, and they approved it, and the governor signed off on it. And they obviously have no idea how terrible that crime bill was. And there's so many things in that crime bill that hurt law enforcement. It hurts public safety. The big one that obviously everybody talks about is the no cash bail. It's a complete catastrophe. And there's a lot of people that are speaking out about it, trying to do damage control right now. You got state's attorneys out there throughout the state are talking about it. You got the chief of police association. They've come together and they're trying to, make amendments and stuff to this bill. And you got the sheriff's association. You got so many people that are having to do so much work when this bill should have never, ever got passed through in the first place. And it definitely hurts law enforcement in a big way.
800 pages passed at the dead of night. An absolute shock to law enforcement across the state. Pat, you were telling me about how they have reclassified use of force, and you explained to me around chokeholds, particularly just the implications that you should walk our viewers through what's going on with the use of force reclassification, especially with chokeholds and things of that sort.
Well, you've had a few officers throughout the country that have put a suspect in a chokehold when they were not authorized to do it, and bad outcome came from that. But a chokehold in itself should never be eliminated, or it should always be available when you're in a deadly force situation. And I could give you many examples of that. But the thing with the chokehold, when they came out with this crime bill, they were saying anything around the neck, not even considering the fact that, there's a such thing called as a headlock, and it's not a chokehold. A headlock is not a chokehold. A headlock is a move that kids use in high school for high school wrestling, that girls and boys use. And they couldn't even get the language right with that as well. So you're going to consider a headlock a deadly force situation when clearly it's not. I mean, and they're even having to try to correct the language with that as well. So there's just so many problems with this crime bill, and that's just one of many, man. It's embarrassing, to be quite honest with you. And you got the governor who, signs off on this crime bill and tries to justify it, and everybody is paying dearly for it. And we're going to pay even more if indeed that no cash bail goes into effect on January 1st. It's going to be a nightmare.
Yeah. So explain that to our viewers. How is that going to affect local crime rates? How's that going to affect the psychology of a criminal?
You're going to be releasing people on a notice to appear when you should be holding them. And I'm talking even serious felonies. I don't have the list of all the crimes in front of me right now, but it's crazy the amount of criminal offenses that they're not going to be able to hold people on, and they're just going to be cut loose and go right back out to society. And it's going to create more crime. It's going to create more violent crime. And I don't know what their thinking behind it is, but they try to claim that it was a racial issue, and it was racism involved with the cash bond, and that's not it at all. It's absolutely not it. Is that you have to help hold people accountable for when they're committing crimes, and that cash bond that actually prevents people from going out there and recommitting more crimes. What you're going to do is the habitual criminals that are out there, the habitual offenders, they're just going to continue to commit more crimes. You're going to get more violent crimes coming from this. There's going to be a lot more victims out there.
Even individuals with a flight risk, they're going to be getting no cash bond.
Absolutely. And I mean, they even have things in this crime bill where if, say, like for instance, a husband murders his wife and he flees on foot. They're saying in this crime bill, like a police officer cannot chase that person because they know who he is and they can try to catch him later. And as long as if you can't show that he's not a threat to someone else when it was just a domestic between him and his wife, you're supposed to just let him go, according to this crime bill.
Yeah, that's absolute chaos. And we've got this chaos upcoming. When does this go into effect, Pat?
January 1st of 2023. So we're literally,
Coming up on it. It's close.
we're less than 4 months away from it. And I hope
So
to God they fix it.
this is coming at a time when we already have a problem finding quality officers willing to do the job. I know in our local area in McDonough County and Warren County, we have a great deal of problems finding law enforcement officers. Is it the same in Rock Island County? And are people leaving in pre-anticipation of this bill and this new setup for law enforcement? Or do you think there already are problems that are driving people out and this is just going to compound upon that and make it much worse?
There's a ton of people leaving, a ton of people are retiring early. You have officers out there that are no longer proactive. They're being reactive because they're afraid of the problems that come with it when you do more. I'll tell you, when I tested 20 years ago for Moline PD, it wasn't uncommon for there to be 300, 400, 500 people that would show up for testing to want to be a cop. I mean, that was the norm. And now, even with social media and them being able to promote the testing and promote how great it is to be a cop and all this kind of stuff, you'll get maybe 10 people that will show up for testing. That is completely unheard of. It used to be so completely different. And now you got people that just don't even want to show up. Well, the other problem that comes with that is that you're losing quality candidates. I mean, think about it. Wouldn't it would be a lot different if you had 3 people showing up to want to be a cop compared to 10. And I think what it's going to do is it's going to force departments to technically hire people that they probably wouldn't have hired in the first place. So they're creating a bigger problem, and that's the problem. This is part of the reason why I'm running for sheriff, is I want to help correct that. I'm not saying that there wasn't problems out there throughout the country on some of these bigger departments, but there are so many police departments throughout the country that are 100 officers and less, and they got things squared away. I know here in the Quad Cities it's squared away. It's few and far between when you see a cop screw up or you get that one bad cop, but that does not speak about all the other officers out there. And what they did is they hurt everybody. They just hurt everybody. They hurt the cops, they hurt the public, and you can't keep doing that. Otherwise, no one's going to want to be a cop.
Well, I mean, the fabric of our society is built on the rule of law, and this is an 800-page attack upon it. I mean, it's just terrible. So, Pat, you ran unopposed in the Republican primary. You're a conservative. You got through the primary. You're now facing an opponent in the general. Tell me who your opponent is, why you have more experience than him, why you have the right experience, why you're the better candidate for the job.
Well, my opponent is Darren Hart. He's a captain on the department. He has the same amount of time as a cop as me, 28 years. I know Darren. I'm friends with Darren. He's a nice guy. But our police experiences are completely 100% different, which means I've been out on the street. I've been on the front line. I have done that my entire career. Darren has not. He's been behind the desk, working out of an office for the majority of his career. So he hasn't been out there to experience everything that I've seen and done. And he has definitely not accomplished the things I've accomplished out on the street. I don't think this guy has ever even handled a call of service with a body cam on. I probably have made more arrests in a few years than he's made in his entire career. I mean, it's just, we're two completely different people. And it's not that I'm knocking him. I mean, it kind of maybe sounds that way, but truly I'm not. But I can just tell you this much, is that my experiences as a police officer and the interactions I've had throughout my 28 years is something so completely different than what he has. And I think that's extremely important with what we got going on with law enforcement right now. We need people in there that have been out there and doing the work out on the street, and working the investigations and all that kind of stuff. I mean, my opponent's never even he's wanting to run the sheriff's department. He's never even worked in corrections either. I have, so I mean, there's a lot of things that I could point out that I think that definitely makes me a better candidate than him. But all in all, it boils down to is that our experiences in law enforcement are so completely different, and I think I'm going to definitely be able to connect with the public in a much better way than what he ever possibly could, and it's because of what we've done through our careers.
So, Pat, I have been a fan of your Facebook page for a long time now, and there's this thing that you do called Moody's Chronicles. Tell us a little bit about this. Tell us how to find it on Facebook, because it is just awesome to hear your law enforcement stories and what you learned from them and what you'd like to do as a sheriff. It is inspiring, and I think everybody who's watching should go and take a look. So go ahead and tell us about that.
Well, if you go to my website, moodyforsheriff.com, you'll get to read about my resume and all that kind of stuff. And I mean, it's fine and stuff, but when I created a Facebook page, which is Moody for Sheriff - Rock Island County, there was a few things I wanted to do. As far as I wanted to be able to connect with the public and give them something that maybe they just don't get to see or get to hear. And one of those things is police stories. We don't get to share them. A lot of times those it violates department policy to talk about calls of service, so we're just not allowed to do that. And but that's the one thing I think the public wants to hear more than anything is they want to hear the stories. They want to hear the truth. So when I created this Facebook page, one of the things I came up with is that I wanted to tell a cop story every Friday. I wanted to tell one good cop story every Friday, an experience that I've had throughout my career, and I call it Moody's Chronicles. And I think this Friday will be my 23rd story. So I've been telling stories for the last 22 weeks. And it's all kinds of good stuff out there. And the feedback has been incredible. I mean, it's just phenomenal. So not only do I do the Moody's Chronicles, but I do a lot of other stuff as far as, I talk about the Safety Act, the problems with that. I talk about some of my goals that I want to do, my leadership style. The list goes on and on and on. So if you guys go to my Moody for Sheriff - Rock Island County Facebook page, you'll love it. And I'm telling you, go back to the very first story that I told and read through them, and you're going to be like, okay, this definitely is the guy that we want for Sheriff for Rock Island County. So, yeah.
Well, great, Pat. While we still have you, is there any chance you'll give us one cop story while we're on the air?
Well, I guess I can give you an early heads up of the one I'm going to tell this Friday. I haven't posted it yet. And this is kind of a funny one. It's not funny, but what my wife went through kind of makes it funny in a way. Is she when I was working at the PD, my wife works for the Rock Island Police Department, and she works the records department. And so she would always routinely call me on her lunch break, and she would walk along the river. And so she's working on her lunch break, walking along the river, and I'm on duty and I'm on break as well. And we're just talking. And then all of a sudden she stops and she's like, okay, you're going to think I'm nuts here, but I think I see a body in the water where I'm at. And I'm like, huh? And she's like, I'm not kidding. I think I just came across a dead body in the water. And this is in Rock Island, right off of Shreebets Park or whatever. And I'm like, you can't tell? You can't tell? And she's like, no, it's like, it looks like it's facing down, but the body's nude or whatever. And I'm like, can you get close? Well, close enough to be able to tell. And she's like, well, there's a lot of rocks and stuff. I go, well, take a picture, send it to me, and let me see it. So she takes the picture and sends it to me. And of course, I crop it, look, and I call her back and I go, honey, that's a body. You need to call the police department. So which is where she works, and let them know what's going on. She goes, of course she's like freaked out on it and stuff. I'm like, it's fine. You just got to stand there and wait till a police officer shows up, and then, they'll get there and they'll deal with it. So yeah, I mean, if you know my wife, she's such a sweetheart, innocent thing anyway. And then for her to come across and walk across something like that, while I'm working at another city, and that body ended up coming from our city as well. So, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, kind of screwed up, man. I know. And I
Yeah.
grew up on the river my entire life, and I've obviously never come across something like that. And here my wife is just working or on her lunch break, taking a walk, and she comes across something like that. So,
Was it a drowning accident, or do you know what the main cause was?
well, I'm not really in liberty to talk about it. I'm not sure the final outcome with all of it. I'm not quite sure if it was an accident or not. I think they're still working on all that, but yeah.
Well, hey,
Yeah.
one more time, tell us how to find you on Facebook and email and social media, and we will take a break.
Okay, so for Facebook, it's Moody for Sheriff dash Rock Island County. And that's where you get to hear all the stories, and that's where you're going to get a lot of information as far as what I'm putting out now. And I'll continue to do that even more so as far as some of the goals I'm wanting to do as the election gets closer. And then you can go to my website, which is moodyforsheriff.com, and that gives you my resume. It tells a lot about, everything I've done. And then it shows all the newspaper articles I've been in over the years as well. Like one of the things a lot of people here in Rock Island County are aware of, I was part of a program where I instituted a car giveaway program, and it was based off calls of service. And I ended up giving away like 7 different cars during all that.
That's amazing. Hey, thank you so much for coming on, Pat. Folks, we are going to go to a quick break. Thank you so much for coming on, Pat. We will catch you again on here soon.
All right, man. You take it easy, Matt.
Hey, see you, boss.
Bye, buddy.
Welcome to Grassroots Inc. Live, broadcasting to you from the Grassroots Inc. War Room located in West Central Illinois. We cover politics and issues affecting Illinois and our nation. Stick around, Patriots. We go live in just a few moments. Have you considered getting involved in your local politics? Well, we can help. Visit www.grassroots.inc and we can give you all the information and guidance and support that you need. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Grassroots Inc. Live. I am your host, Matthew Rauschard. Let's get to it. All right, folks, we are back, and I'm going to bring on a very good friend of mine, Annette Parcher, who is running the IFA in Rock Island County. I think she's ready for me. How's it going, Annie?
Good. Except there's a correction there. Arlene Rees is now, Arlene Rees is now the chairwoman of the Illinois Freedom Alliance, and I'm deputy director for the America Project for the state of Illinois.
Oh, that's awesome. I did know that. Still, I see in the IFA office and the association is there, but Arlene is doing a great job. We love Arlene too. We'll have to have her on. If she's in the office, you should yell for her to come in.
I will. They're getting ready for a town hall we have starting in just a few minutes, but I'm still doing this pretty much the same work I was doing. She's still pretty much doing the same work she was doing because my new job is the same as my old one. I'm just working hard to like you are, to grow the grassroots organizations, to make sure everybody has a place to go, a place where they're welcome and ready to work and have something to do when they get there. So it's been it's an amazing journey. Having the America Project and the Illinois for America First group starting here is it brings more muscle. There's more funding than we've ever had available to us, and so we'll be doing we've got a bus that's being wrapped right now, and it'll have all the grassroots groups on it.
Great. So,
yeah.
The mission of the IFA, what is it in a short burst for people who do not know?
The mission is to election integrity. Election integrity is everything. We do a lot of events to help people connect with each other, but it's all about learning how to clean your voter rolls. It's all about recruiting poll watchers and having good, well-trained poll watchers and election judges to make sure that we have them in every County. Do you know that we have a poll watcher emergency response system? It's a state election integrity reporting system. They used it in North Carolina on a smaller scale than what we used it during the primary. And we just finished loading all of the polling places. Do you have any idea how many polling places there are in Illinois, Matt?
Ooh, I'm not much of one for guessing, but I'd say 3,000.
5,200.
Wow, that's incredible. And each of those needs 2 election judges from each party, correct?
Correct.
And they
Yes.
should each have a poll watcher from each party. That is a lot of polling locations.
Yeah, and it might be just one election judge from each party, but it depends on what's going on. But here's the thing, is that election judges, they're appointed by the county clerks, right? And if they don't have enough Republican election judges, then they are, by law, it's okay to say, hey, Democrat, you will serve as a Republican at our polling place. And it's fine. And here's one catch we found there is that there's some reasons why Republicans aren't getting those election judge positions is because they call once and they don't get a call back. You might have to call your county clerk more than once to get that training. She's the only one that can train you and sign you up, and they're busy. And so it's not necessarily that they don't want you. It's just that the squeaky wheel gets oiled in most county clerk offices because there's a lot to be done there.
Right. Squeaky wheel definitely gets the grease.
Yeah,
so anyone who's interested in getting involved with the IFA, if you're interested in election integrity, it's obviously a project that we need to focus on, especially here in Illinois, especially in Rock Island County. It's a little bit different in these more rural counties, but in Rock Island County, you guys have one heck of a clerk, Karen Kenny, who I am not a fan of. Go ahead and tell us what is wrong with Karen Kenny.
I'm not going to go there, Matt. I will tell you this. You're goading me. I will tell you this, is that during the primary, I was in the war room looking at all the incidents reports coming in from 15 counties. And I had to call Karen Kenny several times, and she was really mean to me. And so I told her that I guess I just always call you mean girl, Karen. And then now she's really nice to me. I haven't had any more problem with her because I don't think she intends to be mean. I think it's just her demeanor. I think she wants to do the right thing.
Yeah, being a county clerk is a high intensity job. Doesn't give her a pass from me. I might be biased towards those named Karen, but so go ahead and tell us how that we can find you on social media, your website, whatever it may be.
Okay, the Illinois Freedom Alliance is IllinoisFreedomAlliance.us. The number is 309-377-1776. And the America Projects, you can call me at the same number. And we're basically all working together on the same project. So it's a wonderful experience. But do I have another minute to talk about poll watchers?
Oh yeah, I'll pull up your website while you're talking so people can see.
Okay. If you go, there's our website. So subscribe to our email list. Not only do we have events that you'll hear about, but we'll announce other events, and we give you good information. And the only reason you might get a lot of emails from us is because there's a lot of events and we're covering a lot of counties. And so please subscribe. And then if you scroll down on that page a little more, keep going. So there's all the different areas that we talk about on there. And then at the bottom, you'll see our calendar of events. And we have events happening all over the state in there. We'd like to see more. So all you have to do to submit an event is submit it through this website, and it's recurring. You have a monthly meeting, put it on there. We're getting more and more people there. We just started a social media team. They're going to meet on a regular basis, and they're going to help us populate this and get more people out and about and connect, because there's nothing like going to a grassroots groups meeting. Is not anything like going to a GOP meeting. We all are trying to get things done. So there's always goals and initiatives that we're trying to process and get through. So main thing I'm doing right now, the main thing I need is to know where all these poll watchers are. We've been doing a great job recruiting new poll watchers, getting them trained, but where are the ones that are already trained? Like, duh, I didn't even ask people for that. So I'm going out with a marketing campaign. Please let us know that you are already a poll watcher. We will get you uploaded into the power system. You will have the most incredible, all your system that you've ever seen, all your resources. You have an incident report. You just say, hey, this happened on your phone, and it goes to the war room and things get done. So that's how that's all about.
Great. Thank you so much, Annie. We're going to head to a break. And when I come back, I'm going to be on with Chad Weaver, a newly elected state central committeeman for the 17th district. He is the chairman of chairmen, so to speak, locally here. And I'm excited to talk to him. And let's all thank Annie one more time for coming on. And I will see you guys after the break. And after Chad Weaver, we will have on Ryan Scalf, a school board member in Knox County. And he's got some interesting things to share with us. Thank you so much, Annie.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Matt. Bye.
Welcome to Grassroots Inc. Live, broadcasting to you from the Grassroots Inc. War Room located in West Central Illinois. We cover politics and issues affecting Illinois and our nation. Stick around, Patriots. We go live in just a few moments. Have you considered getting involved in your local politics? Well, we can help. Visit www.grassroots.inc and we can give you all the information and guidance and support that you need. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Grassroots Inc. Live. I am your host, Matthew Rauscher. Let's get to it. Well, folks, I've got Chad Weaver here. Chad, can you hear me all right?
Yes, I can. Am I good?
Yeah, you're great.
Perfect.
I love your shop in the background. Is that your
Yeah.
county board sign that I'm seeing over your shoulder?
What's that?
Is that your county board sign that I'm seeing over your shoulder?
Yes, it is. I got the whole fam, the whole tribe in
Oh.
on that one. So
That's great. So, Chad, you were just elected state central committeeman. For those who don't know, explain to us what that is and why you decided to pursue that office.
yeah, so the State Central Committee is the governing office of the Illinois Republican Party. And what that consists of is the 17 congressional districts within the state. They kind of dictate, the party platform, the direction the party wants to go, and the firm leadership as far as, being one of the key driving forces to getting grassroots organizations going, motivating the people, finding candidates, and really, making Illinois a better place. So, I decided I wanted to run for that because I'll be honest with you, I just wasn't happy with the way it was going. And I kind of, every time I tried to make any moves within the party or put forth any ideas, I got this kind of feeling that it was a good old boys club, kind of a kiss my ring finger attitude from a few select people. And, I kind of sat there for a few nights just mulling over it with my wife. And I'm like, this ain't right. This is not what politics are supposed to be. And, she said, well, you're going to just something. And I said, you know what? My wife just called back. And, so that was great because I had her blessing from the get-go. And I'm here to tell you, when it comes to any elected office of any kind, if you don't have your household behind you, it's not going to be very fun and it's not going to be a good run. And so that really meant a lot to me. And she's been very supportive and, all hands on deck. And if I have a good idea or something I feel is passionate, she says, hey, why don't you kind of spin it this way a little bit, put a little polish on it, So
yeah,
it's good. We're a group effort, really.
I know I for sure benefit from my better half, my wife, Emma. I think that's great that you bring that up. And that's one thing I love about our gubernatorial nominee, Darren Bailey, is Cindy Bailey is such a rock star and such just a solid foundation for their family. And she's just such an amazing person. So before you decided to run for office, for this office, you were helping the Bailey campaign early in the primary. Is that correct?
Yeah. So what happened is October, we had our Republican Party has our Oktoberfest dinner, which is a pretty good fundraiser for the county. And Steve Castle from Stevenson County was there, Pastor Steve. I'm sure you've heard of him or met him. He's a very outstanding dude. And we got to talk, and he says, "Hey, we don't have anybody for Whiteside." He says, "You interested?" I said, "Well," I said, "let me make sure I don't have too much on my plate right now, and I'll get back to you." He says, "All right." So I thought about it. We kind of talked a little bit back and forth, and then Barb Babby reached out to me, who was kind of the grassroots coordinator for the Bailey campaign. And she says, "I hear you're interested." I said, "Yeah." And she goes, "Well, what do I got to do to sell you?" I said, "Well, just talk to me a little bit. Tell me a little more about Darren." So she filled me in, and I was sold. I was like, "This is the guy we need in Illinois, like hands down." And so I started out helping out with the county. Well, it wasn't long after, a little bit of hard work and everything. They moved me up to regional tiers of Region 3, which consists of Whiteside, Lee, uh, let's see, Stevenson, Joe Davis, and Carroll, and I think Winnebago as well. So
Wow.
it's been nice. The hardest part is just getting your network going where you can get reliable people, kind of support groups across different areas. So you yourself are not trying to just canvass the entire area. You can delegate a little bit, and then you've got all hands on deck, and that's great. That's a good feeling.
And that's such a beautiful comment you make about the networking. That is why it's so important that everybody who gets engaged in politics, you bring your network with you, which is why I encourage people. That's
Yes.
what grassroots is. You may only, hang out with your one cousin and a friend from work, but bringing yourself into politics then gives them an eye into it, and it grows the base, and it gives we the people the power to influence our leaders and what is going on in the upcoming years and the political discussion. So, Chad, we've got a lot of battles this fall. How optimistic are you about us beating JB Pritzker, getting Tom DeVore as Attorney General, getting our slate through into office?
I feel good about it, but the biggest thing that we need to address is you'd be surprised how many voters just, they kind of get the short end of the stick throughout the entire term of a poorly elected official. And come election time, boy, all the campaigning and all the ads and everything, they're quick to forget it. Let's not forget COVID left such a foul taste in our mouth the way the state was handled. And, I really hope when it comes time to get to the polls that everybody remembers that and gets behind Darren and says, "Hey, this is our guy. He's going to be the one that's going to, straighten this out if it should ever happen again and keep the state moving forward." And I think it's great that him and Tom have really kind of, linked arms and linked campaigns and said, "Hey, from the start, they had this connection together and they've moved it forward together." And I think that's a powerful duo right there.
Well, and I think so much of the conversation that's going on right now in Illinois politics and that needs to be going on right now is what is going on in our schools, what is coming in our schools. And we need to remember what just happened in our schools. And you can't find better fighters on the mask mandates, the sex educational mandates than Thomas DeVore and Darren Bailey. So I'm going to play a attack ad. You mentioned ads that are going on, and the absolute sheer amount of money that's going to come from Pritzker this cycle is going to be astonishing. There's $60 million on hand to be spent for his campaign right now, and I suspect there'll be more. And he's running this ad that I'm about to play, attacking Darren Bailey on his stance on abortion. And I just want to play it and just get your initial reaction to Pritzker's ad, whether you think it'll be effective, and what we need to be telling our maybe liberal-leaning friends about Darren Bailey to convince them to vote for him. So let's go ahead and play that ad.
May have thought you heard everything that Darren Bailey had to say about abortion.
If somebody were raped or there was a pattern of incest in the family, would you allow that woman to have an abortion?
Right now, my answer is no.
But that's not all Darren Bailey has said.
The attempted extermination of the Jews of World War II, it doesn't even compare on a shadow of the life that has been lost and with abortion.
So this is the messaging that is coming from this guy. What do you have to say to your maybe left-leaning viewer that's seeing that?
I would honestly say take it with a grain of salt. If you at this point in our lives, if you can't take an ad like that and distinguish what's chopped up little clips of anything to fit someone's narrative, I mean, that's, shame on you at that point. I mean, we're all adults. We don't need to sugarcoat anything. We know reality from falsehoods, or we should anyway. And, I don't, it's tough with that because, you want to, it's hard to speak for someone like Darren. We all know where he stands, but you just want to honestly tell that person, here's big guy's number. You give him a call. He'll tell you exactly how he feels. And by the end of the phone call, you're going to love the man, and you'll probably carry him to the podium if you had to. It's just, it's tough because I don't think you can really talk too much sense into somebody that leans that far left. We've tried, and
what I find myself leaning towards saying is, you may find it extreme for us to be pro-life in cases of rape, incest. You know what I think is extreme? No parental notification, partial birth abortions, being the abortion capital of the Midwest. We are a radical pro-abortion state. It's not even pro-choice; it's pro-death at this point. We have gone so far beyond what they once upon a time said was rational reform in this area. So, how do we convey that message, Chad?
Honestly, I guess if I had the answers to that, to convey that to a Democrat, I'd probably be a Democratic state central committeeman at that point. I mean, it's like, how do you speak Mandarin with never taking that lesson? It's tough to communicate with them. It really is, because they're the type, and I shouldn't speak so loosely and say they're all this way, because they're not. That's wrong of me. But to say, they're the type of people on the playground that, if it doesn't go their way, they're just going to take their ball and go home and cry about it, and or make up the rules as the game goes. And that's not right. It's to convey it to, it's really difficult to convey it, to dumb down and water down your beliefs, to relate it to somebody that you don't believe with, as far as I'm concerned. I kind of feel it like, when it comes down to it, Illinois shouldn't be a safe haven for, abortion, child fetal murder. I mean, it's disgusting. And it's shameful to be from the state of Illinois and be known as that. How many times have you been somewhere and you say, "Oh, I'm from Illinois," and they say, "Oh, Chicago"? No. Yeah. I mean, it's to me, it's difficult. It really is. If it was so easy, I think we'd all just get along and sing Kumbaya, but we're just going to have our differences, and we're just going to have to battle out in the arena that matters, and that's the political arena.
Right.
And,
Which is why it's so important to show up and vote, bring your friends to vote, because we've got the numbers on our side. We just need to get out and vote. So, Chad, what is your plan as state central committeeman to push that voter turnout this fall?
The biggest goal I have as of right now to push voter turnout is we have all these unique grassroots groups throughout the district. But, they're kind of, as I've said it to people, they're kind of like these tribes of Indians. They're everywhere, but they're small little bands, and we don't need a history lesson. We know what happened to the Indians, if they would have united, boy, it would have been a force to reckon with. And, you no longer have tribes or bands, you have an army. And, what greater feeling than to span across the 17th, unite as many, if not all of these groups as possible, because now you have boots on the ground soldiers that the Republican Party's never seen before. I mean, you've got people that are just unbelievably passionate about it. And they work 40 hours a week, and then they go out and hit the grind, pounding the pavement, making phone calls, putting together envelopes, mailers, everything, in their free time. You can't put a price on that passion. That to me is just, that's what we need. So.
Yeah, I think it's what's coming, and I don't think it's coming from the other side. When I look at the Democratic involvement, especially locally, I'm just not seeing it. So before I let you go, Chad, tell us where people can find you and what they need to do to be as valuable as possible to the conservative movement this fall.
Yeah, if you guys need to find me, you can find me on Facebook. My email is chadweaver2@gmail.com, or you can give me a call at 563-528-2888. And reach out to me, let me know what you want to do, because I'm not one to really put too much on anyone. I'm not going to drive you out and overwork you right off the bat. I'll sucker you in a little bit, and yeah.
Hey, thank you so much for coming on, Chad. I'm honored to have you as my state central committeeman, and I'm really looking forward to the next few years making some real progress in this district. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it, Matt.
Hey, I'll see you, Chad.
See ya.
So my next guest is going to be Ryan Scalf, and we're going to hop on here for about 5 minutes, and we're going to talk about what is going on in the Knoxville School Board. Ryan, how are you doing this evening? Can you hear me?
Hey, I'm doing good. Hopefully you can hear me. I'm experimenting with a background. How do you think?
I think it looks pretty cool. I think, especially since you're representing the school district as a school board member,
Hey,
it's awesome to have that as your background. So, Ryan, why'd you run for the school board of Knox County?
Well, it started with, like many people, the 2020 election and seeing all the shenanigans and all the distrust and illegal things that we were witnessing happen. Because I'm the furthest thing that you would want to say that is a political person. I've never been in politics myself. I saw what was happening with all of our kids in our area, in our county, and I've served my country in the United States Army, served 8 years, and my mentality is I'm still a soldier. And I saw something was pushing me to wanting to do something for our community, and I felt like the school board was the primary place to make a real big difference locally and have an impact on my family directly, along with my friends and other family members that are in the area fighting for their kids and trying to bring back the conservativeness back to our school boards.
Well, that's amazing. And I will say you are definitely a fighter. That is clear. When the schools were facing the mask mandate, I went to a lot of different school board meetings, and I did not meet a single more outspoken board. Well, you
Rick
and John
Quinn from
Oakman
Abington's pretty good.
Yeah, Rick Quinn from Abington and John Oakman from Bushel. There's some others.
John Oakman's my guy too, man. I love that.
John Oakman's great. But you were a fighter. You were on the front lines there, having a voice. Do you guys need more fighters on the Knoxville School Board? When is the next election, and how can people contact you to learn how to run?
We definitely need more help in terms of coming to be able to make the change on the board. Elections for school boards are in April, so that has been always one problem. I think nobody's paying attention during that time of the year or that month, to where nobody's even knowing that the school board elections are even happening during that time of the year. We have 5 seats in our district that are going to be available for people to run for. And I encourage anybody and everybody that wants to see some change in their school district of 202 to get their paperwork in. I believe it's the 20th of December of this year. You have to declare yourself to be on the ballot for the voting in the election of April. Myself and Darcy Young, we went into this thing as a pact to try to make a change, and we have been fighting tooth and nail every meeting. I can guarantee that those that were on the board thinking it was a good time aren't thinking it's a good time anymore. They do not look forward to having school board meetings right now.
It's no longer the school board social club. It's the school board showdown with Ryan.
The good old boy club is going bye-bye. If you don't do your job, you're going to be held accountable. And I don't care what your last name is. It shouldn't matter, myself included. If I ain't getting the job done, I expect somebody to call me out on it. And I think that's what's happened, not just in our district, across the whole entire nation. People have been complacent, and I'm part of that problem. And that's why I didn't want to be one of those people that is just sitting on the sidelines complaining and griping about something and not trying to make a difference. I mean, what good is it to complain and gripe if you're not willing to put yourself out there and try to make a difference for yourself along with anybody else in your community?
There are those who can complain, and there are those who get out there and make a difference. So tell you what, Ryan, let's, over the next week or two, sit down and we will put a link on the grassroots.inc website that will help people run for office and get in contact with you. I think Ryan's going to be a regular here. But before I let you go, Ryan, Illinois just passed a sex educational mandate, and our school boards, to my understanding, were able to opt out of that. And that just went through. I know a lot of schools in McHenry County opted out of it. I believe Bushnell just did. What did Knox County do with that sex ed mandate?
We have not officially opted out. I know that we aren't participating, and that I actually, on our next board meeting of September, I will be requesting these topics to be on the discussion of our agenda to try to make sure that we let our community know where we stand on those ones. And that would be the SB 818 bill that you're talking about in Illinois. That's the sex ed bill that they're talking about, trying to teach our kids different identities and pronouns, which we all know we ain't wanting anything with that in our elementary schools. Knoxville is in a major shift. We have been cleaning house for the last year to try to turn a corner to rebuild the district. We've got a new elementary principal this year. We've got a new high school principal. We have a new assistant principal at the middle school, and we are now going to be searching for a new superintendent. So I believe that we have made that turn, and you're going to see the building process begin in Knoxville.
Well, great. Hey, thank you so much for coming on, Ryan. We're going to go to a short break, and when I come back, I'm going to be on with Ken Hogan, attorney at law and soon to be circuit judge of Knox County. Thank you again, Ryan. Give us one more time your Facebook and social media.
Well, I'm part of the Knox County Patriot Group, so that would be where I would say to find me. My personal page has been shadow banned to no end, so you ain't going to even find me anywhere on there.
Yeah, always known for being just a bit controversial. Well, hey, thank you for coming on, Ryan. I will see you soon.
Hey, thank you, Matt.
Welcome to Grassroots Inc. Live, broadcasting to you from the Grassroots Inc. War Room located in West Central Illinois. We cover politics and issues affecting Illinois and our nation. Stick around, Patriots. We go live in just a few moments. Have you considered getting involved in your local politics? Well, we can help. Visit www.grassroots.inc and we can give you all the information and guidance and support that you need. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Grassroots Inc. Live. I am your host, Matthew Rauscher. Let's get to it. I am on with another dear friend of mine, Mr. Ken Hogan. Ken, can you hear me all right? Oh, I don't think we're having some technical issues. I'm going to go ahead and end Ken's live stream. And
yeah, I can hear
pop
you.
Out
can you hear me?
Oh, you can hear me all right? Yeah, okay, we're live. So, Ken, what made you decide to run for circuit judge of Knox County? We may be experiencing a bit of delay. Ken, can you hear me all right now?
You're freezing up a little bit on me.
Okay, well, this is the nature of a live stream. I'm going to go ahead and back Ken out. Ken, if you can still hear me, go ahead and back out of your stream and come back in, and that'll refresh that link for you. We're going to go to another break as I do some troubleshooting as I am producing and hosting right now, which we may have to fix here soon. Welcome to Grassroots Inc. Live, broadcasting to you from the Grassroots Inc. War Room located in West Central Illinois. We cover politics and issues affecting Illinois and our nation. Stick around, Patriots. We go live in just a few moments. Have you considered getting involved in your local politics? Well, we can help. Visit www.grassroots.inc and we can give you all the information and guidance and support that you need. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Grassroots Inc. Live. I am your host, Matthew Rauscher. Let's get to it. So it looks like Ken Hogan is not able to get in, but I'm going to go ahead and hop back in with Pat Moody if he can hear me. And Pat, how are you doing?
Good, man.
Did I catch you off guard there? Yeah, no kidding. So let's go and see if Ken has some better reception now. Ken, can you hear us? I cannot hear Ken.
Okay.
Ooh, I can hear his voice.
Okay, hey Pat, I'm gonna let you go. I think we may be able to just get right to Ken.
All right, good enough.
Hey, see you, buddy. Ken, can you hear me all right? You may have yourself muted. That may be the issue.
I can hear you a little bit.
Okay. Well, if you can hear this, go ahead and tell us why you're running for judge, why you decided to get involved, and what your goal is.
I may have done that.
Live streams are a tricky breed, folks. So Ken, I first met him on the campaign trail a few months ago. He is a attorney in Galesburg, and he has a very good disposition. He's very level-headed, and he's currently in a race against David Hansen, who is a Democrat, and they have a race that is heating up. I don't think we're going to be able to pull off getting Ken on tonight. Just there seems to be some type of technical issue, but we're going to get him on soon. And while I line up our next guest, I'm going to head for a commercial break. We've had a bit of a rough patch here, but when I come back on, we will have another guest and we'll continue the show. Thanks, folks. Welcome to Grassroots Inc. Live, broadcasting to you from the Grassroots Inc. War Room located in West Central Illinois. We cover politics and issues affecting Illinois and our nation. Stick around, Patriots. We go live in just a few moments. Have you considered getting involved in your local politics? Well, we can help. Visit www.grassroots.inc and we can give you all the information and guidance and support that you need. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Grassroots Inc. Live. I am your host, Matthew Rauscher. Let's get to it. So I'm going to go ahead and bring on Pat Moody, since we had some troubles with Ken. And I'm going to try to coax another cop story out of Pat Moody.
Well, okay. I guess I can start off with the very first story that I told, which, wasn't anything very spectacular, but it definitely showed me how much people actually want to hear those kind of stories, which was, it was on duty. I was working nights with Moline, and I went to a loud music complaint, and they were having like a party in the garage, and I could hear the music and stuff when I showed up. It was pretty loud. Anyway, they were singing karaoke in there. And so I told them, hey, I can sing karaoke as well. So I ended up singing a couple karaoke songs with the party that was there based off this call of service before I had them shut the music down. And, I end up walking away from that call where they thought I was the coolest cop ever, So it's one of those things where I think being able to connect with the public is extremely important. And, even little goofy things like that. So one of the things that I talk about is how important it is for the community-oriented policing concepts to be adopted and to be used. And you see departments stepping up a lot better than what they have in the past, where, they're sharing that information with the public as well, where you'll see, coffee with a cop and stuff like that. So, but there's so much more that can be done, especially on the sheriff's department's level. They can have better interaction than what they're doing with the smaller cities outside, in the Rock Island County jurisdiction area. So I want to be able to bring stuff like that where it's fun stuff. I worked out of a substation down in the lower west end of Moline. And the primary reason why we were down there is because of all the gang problems. But we also got to work with all the young kids down there. And we had a lot of programs that we were doing. We would coach wrestling and basketball. And the effort made down there, what the purpose we were doing all that is that we wanted to break the cycle, which is where we could teach these kids like, hey, you don't have to be a part of a gang like your older brother or your cousin or your dad or your uncle or whatever. And through a lot of that played a big part why we got rid of the gang problems in Moline that went on for 20 plus years. It was amazing the things that we accomplished out of that substation. So anyway, I've always been that guy where, if I see some kids out there playing basketball or whatever, I get out of the squad car and I interact and have fun with it. So anyway, that's part of some of the stories that I got going on with that as well.
So Pat, when you went to do those community involvement kind of things, how receptive were the communities that you were going into to law enforcement coming in and trying to get to know them and their community and what's going on?
It was incredible. The public feeds off that. They love that. They want that. And that's why you see these departments, they're doing a much better job now than they've ever done. But, the smaller departments, I would say the smaller cities, they kind of understood it better. Like it wasn't uncommon when I worked for Kelowna PD, which was a city of 5,000 people where, you had people waving to you all the time as you're rolling by in a squad car. In a bigger city, it's a little bit different. But you see the bigger cities now, they're stepping up their game because they know that kind of stuff is very important. That's how you connect with the public. That's how you get them involved. That's how they trust you. The list goes on and on and on. So yeah, I love it. I've always been a part of it. I've always believed in it. I know the good that comes from it. And I want to bring some of that into the sheriff's department as well.
That's amazing. So how much involvement with the community does the sheriff's office have now currently?
Well, they run thin. Their manpower, it's not the greatest, so it makes it a little bit harder. You only have so many deputies on it cover an entire county, but you do have certain deputies that are assigned to jurisdictions where they're contracted out, like say, like Carbon Cliff or Andalusia, and they have some substations in the area, and there's things that can be done in those towns. A lot more can be done where you can connect with the public in a much better way than what's being done now, instead of them just driving around and not really doing a whole lot, to be quite honest with you. So and I would just think they would enjoy that more anyway. Like here out in Andalusia, which is where I live, we got a small elementary school out here, and oh my God, the amount of good that can come from being assigned out here and being connected to that school, especially when you have a substation out here in Andalusia anyway. These kids around here would think the cop was a superstar, a rock star. I remember when I worked down in the lower West End, there was a great school there called Erickson School. And my partner and I'm not kidding you, we'd walk in that school and you would thought we were like, movie stars. Those kids loved us. They would go nuts when we walked in there, but we built a rapport with them. We built a connection with those kids. They loved us. We couldn't even walk by a classroom if the door was open, because if we did, the whole classroom would go nuts. So I mean, that's the kind of stuff that can be done, but it takes the right guidance, the right leadership, and I'm going to be that guy.
Well, I am looking forward to it. Thank you for spending a bit more time with us, Pat. I'm going to go ahead and cut over to Ben Watt, who's running for state representative in the 92nd district. Thank you again, Pat, for coming on. And everyone who's watching, you need to go support Patrick Moody with your dollars, your time, and of course, most importantly, your vote. Thank you, Pat.
And I think you're doing an awesome job, Matt. Keep it up, buddy.
Hey, thank you, sir. Next week, we're going to have less technical difficulties.
There we go, dude.
Eventually we'll be able to get through an episode without a crash and burn. So
for sure,
hey,
man.
Thank you, boss.
Yep.
So I am now on with Ben. Ben, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, of course. So you were on our Monday show and we had a brief stint. We've got a little bit more time tonight. We talked about how you got involved in politics, how you're running for state representative in the 92nd district, and that you're a youth pastor, that you are pro-life, and that you're fighting this battle with grassroots. So in your mission so far, what has been the biggest obstacle to running a grassroots campaign in a left-leaning district like this?
For me personally, it's I don't have an infrastructure. I mean, we're building one, but I had no idea what kind of infrastructure. You know, the I knew I'd need a lot of people, but when people volunteer, I didn't know what to tell them to do. But then the second thing, considering specifically the Democrat district, is we don't have a lot of precinct committeemen, and in our Republican precincts, I think there's 59 precincts, and I have 30 precinct committeemen. So we're really recruiting that. I think people kind of just stop being involved when they realize there's a really big uphill battle. This lady always wins. Nobody runs against her. Why bother? So that might be our biggest challenge, is to get those positions filled, and we're getting it. We're getting there.
Yeah, and I think that's a challenge everywhere. So I'm vice chairman of the Warren County Republican Party, and we are a red county. We've got a liberal college in Monmouth, but we're still a very conservative county. But we only have 8 precinct committeemen at the current moment. So, you know, it's a struggle everywhere to get these people involved. So, Ben, I know your policy on being pro-life. I'm assuming you're pro-Second Amendment.
Yes.
Where do you stand on the FOID card and all the issues that are revolving around that right now?
I'd like to void the FOID, to use Darren Bailey's term. I definitely think that is an unnecessary obstacle for people. I do think, though, that we have to use common sense. So when one of the reasons that we can have liberty in this country is because people have virtue, and when we lose our virtue, we lose our liberties. And if we can't handle carrying a gun, I expect the government's going to take it away from us. Now, the truth is, the media makes it look like we have more mass shootings than anybody in the world. And I just read a report in, I think, GSA or something, that we're not even in the top 10 for mass shootings. But I'm willing to talk about solutions that might keep guns out of the hands of children. But that's a Second Amendment right to defend ourselves, and I have no desire for that to be taken away.
Right. Now, how much of this falls on the importance of mental health?
So mental health is the catchphrase right now. It makes me a little bit nervous because if you get the wrong people in power, then they can say conservatives have a mental disorder. However, we certainly have a need for mental health services. I know in Peoria, we used to have a great big mental health facility, and it closed, and all of those patients were just absorbed into the community. And so I certainly think there is room for that. I personally have mentored young men for years, and I have one young man who didn't really listen to me, and he ended up getting shot. But the gun didn't shoot him. He was fooling around with a gun that he wasn't supposed to have. I have another guy that I mentored who has his FOID card, who goes to classes, and both of these young men grew up without their dads. So there's some responsibility, and I think we need to find a way to make sure people are responsible and of course provide mental health service, but also do that cautiously.
So Ben, are you familiar with Teen and Adult Challenge in Peoria?
I am.
So tell people who are watching this what that ministry is and what they're doing.
So they are a drug addiction program for adults, at least in Peoria, and other, you may have other addictions too, but my familiarity with it is 18 years old and older. It does have, I believe, still has a residential facility in Peoria, and it is a fantastic program. I have, as I recall, hired at least 1 or 2 graduates of there when I worked at Peoria Charter.
Oh, that's great. And I think it's biblically based mission-focused organizations like that are going to start making the change that'll prevent things like this happening in the future. And I think it's beautiful the way you put it, that it's not the gun, it's the person. So
Right.
Another huge problem that we have in Illinois is our pension crisis. So, and I do say the word crisis, it's one of those barreling trains that you don't see, and it's really not going to affect the retirement age generation. It's really going to affect your and my generation and those in between. So where do you stand on pensions? How do we start approaching getting ourselves out of the monetary problem that we are in?
So I had a young lady in my youth group She's an adult now, and she's a school teacher. She's in her 3rd or 4th year teaching school in Peoria. I'm really proud of her. Kara, if you're watching, good job. If I understand the pension crisis correctly, in 15 years, it will be insolvent in Illinois. So Kara won't get what she has coming. I do not, and this is something that before I got involved in politics, I didn't realize what a crisis it was. But I don't understand why the Democrats won't work with the Republicans to come up with a reasonable solution to this. People deserve what we've promised, but if we've overpromised, then the new people that we hire, we need to align, what's the word I'm looking for? Just like the private sector has to adjust, we have to adjust our promises. Cost of living that matches inflation. Some of our pension programs, the cost of living adjustments are double inflation. We have a defined benefit instead of a defined contribution. So that is a big priority to me. It's not what got me in politics, but once I started studying the issues, I was frankly appalled at how it just keeps getting kicked down the road. It's also the #1 expense for most municipalities. So like in Peoria, over 60 cents of every dollar that they collect goes to pension. But there are communities outside of Chicago, it's like 118% or 108% of every dollar is going to pension liability.
It's just, you know, that brings us to another part of the Illinois problem, which I always, while I was on the campaign trail, I said, if you don't solve corruption, good luck with anything else, because it really is at the core of all these other issues. You know, they've got their roots in corruption. So as a state representative, if you could write legislation to start combating this corruption, where would you start? Would you push that legislation? What's your take on corruption in Illinois?
So I always thought corruption in Illinois meant there was a bunch of cheaters. But what I've learned is that the rules are corrupt. So if we elect the best CPA in the entire state to become a state rep, he won't be allowed to finance to chair a finance committee until he's been elected 3 times. That's just crazy. If you serve 6 terms, you get your pension. We have what's called well, now I'm drawing a blank on the name. I didn't know you were going to ask me this question. The speaker can temporarily appoint a chairman of a committee if he's afraid his legislation or her legislation won't pass. Appoint that chairman for a week, get their legislation through, and then put the chairman back. So our committee chairmen are appointed by the speaker. Most states elect, the assembly will elect their own chairperson. So the rules are just written to be corrupt. So I would support any legislation that was going to address these rule changes. You can be a legislator today and tomorrow be a lobbyist. I think it makes sense to have a cooling off period. I think anybody who's not corrupt would agree with that. So yeah. I was told the other day, Ben, you can learn how to be a great legislator after you're a legislator. Right now you need to focus on learning how to win the race. So I've only dabbled in a lot of these issues, but man,
well,
some of them are no-brainers.
Having been in your shoes, you're doing great. It is easy for me to ask the questions. It's really hard to be the candidate, but you're doing phenomenal. And we only have 2 viewers at the moment, so it's a really nerfed environment to test out. Shout out to our 2 viewers. You know, the show is new, but I think it's the right approach in understanding that the system itself is what's corrupt, and it encourages corruption. I think that's a key part of it. And I think whenever we talk about corruption, we need to talk about our mapping process here in Illinois, how we handle redistricting. Now, we've got a 10-year run time before we've got another census and the process begins again. In other states, what happens is there is a algorithm that takes the population data and it spits out several versions of the map. Now, the legislature will vote on how to handle that data, and it can, you know, equate for communities and, you know, race, equity, all these different things that the left is very focused on. You know, it can make sure that the map makes sense to the culture of the area and the demographics of the area, but then it spits out versions of that, and then we go to vote on it. But what happens here in Illinois, for people who don't know, is there is a closed room with individuals from only one party that vote on the map. So you, Ben, have a unique experience with this because you are in what I would call a gerrymandered district. So explain to us what your district looks like and what the voting demographic of it is.
Sure. So I'm in a 70% Democrat district. Short of a miracle, our legislator will always be our legislator. Although I think this is the year we're going to have the miracle, because a lot of people are fed up with what the Democrats are doing. They're fed up with their double electric bills. And so this is going to be a great year. But another community right next to mine is, I think, even a stronger example of this. Bartonville, Illinois, I believe, is in 3 legislative districts. And it's less, I think their population is like 6,000 people. So they're looped into Bloomington Normal, which is an entirely separate community. They're looped in with Pekin, Illinois, and they're in the southwest part of Peoria. And it is so clearly like they're conservative, so they got all split up into multiple districts. And the things that Bartonville, Illinois is facing are so different than Bloomington Normal, and yet the majority of that little community is tied into the Bloomington Normal district. And so basically they haven't had representation for a long time. So that's a great example. And then of course mine, I'm glad mine's small. I can get to my whole district in 15 minutes. And if you zoom out on that map, all the other guys, they got to drive an hour and a half to get wherever they're going. But Bartonville, if you go to the left, you'll see it down there. Kind of where the blue and the yellow and the green all match. That is, or all meet. That is Bartonville. And they're just a small little community. So like our airport.
Just incredible.
Yeah, it's the way that the map is shown, the 2 greens are very similar colored, but anyway, it is bizarre. Everybody knows that this community, the river kind of divides the cultures, and this is the one district that crosses the river. Anyway.
Yeah, and in this case, it crosses the river in a, just a couple 100 feet wide sliver, and then goes out to engulf this little community here, which makes absolutely no sense.
So their representative lives 40 miles away, which in a rural district makes sense, but this is not a rural community.
Right. So you said that it'd be a miracle for you to win this race, which I would compel anybody who sees this or is seeing this now. Let's all pray for Ben this fall. Let's pray for this miracle campaign that there can be some true conservative, biblical leadership in Peoria County and the 92nd district. And with that, Ben, will you go ahead and close us out in prayer this evening?
I sure will. And one other thing about the miracle is it's also a math equation. If we get out the vote, we can win. We've got enough people. So let's close in prayer. I appreciate you asking me. Father, I know that you aren't a Republican or a Democrat. You are good, and you are perfect, and you have integrity, and you have compassion. And Lord, I would ask that you would give us in the state of Illinois people with integrity and virtue, and even faith, that they would be our leaders. I pray, Lord, right now that you would bless the candidates, bless their families on all sides. They are running races, and they're gone from home, and they're busy, and nobody gets paid to run generally. And so we just pray, God, that you'd bless those candidates and their families. But we pray that you would bring a renewal of virtue, for lack of a better word, that encompasses it. That's what we need to fight this corruption. Lord, the heinous abortion bills that we have, pro-choice or pro-life, we've gone so far that we've legalized infanticide in some cases, and it's just horrible. So God, we just pray that you'd have mercy on our state, and that you would do great things in and through those people who are passionate about what is right. And we ask all of this in the name of Jesus. Amen.
In Jesus' name, amen. Hey, thank you so much for coming on, Ben. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We're going to go ahead and cut it a bit short tonight and wrap it up. But before we do, Ben, how do they find you? How do they get involved?
Well, right now you'll have to drive to Cleveland. No, I'm just kidding. Picking up my wife's grandmother. At Ben Watt for 92. It's in my little name there. At Ben Watt for 92. That's Facebook. Or you can go to benwattfor92.com. And those would be the 2 easiest ways to find me.
Hey, thank you, Ben. Hopefully you will be able to come on next time. And God bless you all. Let's save our state and save our nation. That concludes our stream.